All right, so hopefully I'm here now. Can you hear me now? So I don't know what this is doing because I'm doing it all by myself and yay. All right, cool. So the video clip failed to play and then it went all black and I'm like, hang on a sec, I'll leave and I'll come back. So here I am. Welcome, guys. We are live, obviously. So we are live on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, and of course, getting started in crypto.com. So welcome. We've got a heap of stuff to do, and I'm glad I've got volume today. I'm glad I've got picture back, and bear with me as I try and do all of this again by myself. So I'm going to add Bitcoin chart. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see. And I've got a heap of alts all prepared for you guys as well, because I asked yesterday on X what you guys wanted, and they're all there. So let's jump straight into Bitcoin. And we're at a really, really pivotal point. We're just underneath the pivot, the weekly pivot, or daily pivot. And on the stock RSI, we're just about to cross bullish. So if this is going up, I would anticipate a tether print within the next 12 hours. If it is not going up, there's going to be no tether print. So that's going to be the indicator as far as I can see, because there's good liquidity, good movement, and we're bouncing on all the right levels. So we've held the lower pivot. We're just about up at the upper pivot, and it is looking really good. So reason I think it's still going higher, obviously we're in this uptrend channel, but when we go to the BLX has still got that upper resistance. Now, that is going to be our point. We're going to more than likely see some good news or hear some good news from tariffs this week. Maybe there's going to be a halt or a pause where they have 30 days, 60 days, something like that. That's my crystal ball prediction, where the markets will just get a breather because they've had quite a sharp pullback just to fill out those patterns, and then we're going to get a larger pullback unless we break through. There is always the potential that we continue up at this point. So at this resistance, we could get a really, really shallow fill out in that region and then a breakthrough and then up. So that's the alternate pattern. But as you can see, it does sort of come down. We did get not so deep in that one. It felt really deep at the time, but according to this, it's no longer very deep anymore. So once we get to that region, we may come back down to that sort of 90-ish range. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So I don't think we're quite there yet. When we go up to this range here, we're at 118, breaking through with a wick, 122 on this region here. So depending on how far we keep going, every day we go past, every week we go past, it gets a little bit higher. So when we were looking back at this region, we were looking at about 117, 118. Now we're looking at about 120 to 122. So that's kind of where we're still aiming for with BTC. There's always a potential of smaller pullbacks along the way, but they are, for me, a buy the dip case for BTC because it still looks really bullish. Dominance is still holding really nicely. The pivot on the dominance is 65. So that's still, there's a chance it can come back down to that 62. That's good for alts if that does happen. And, we'll be going hallelujah if it does, because we'll be all racing to the alts and making those gains there. But it's looking really strong. So for me, this is just minor pullback, and I don't see anything major happening. Now, if we start sort of seeing like a rejection in this region and not breaking that pivot, and no tether print. So if there's no tether print in the next 12 hours, I'll be going, what's going on here? But I'm sure we'll hear something about tariffs in the next day. I'm sure Trump will back down a little bit, and we'll see those markets go green again, because he's not going to kill the markets at this point. and we're looking for June for that interest rate cut. So it's a fine line that he needs to be sort of, climbing and going sort of moving sideways on that. So I think it's going to be not too bad. This is total. We touched that pivot. We'll probably come back up and touch that pivot again before having another pullback. Incomplete pattern in this region. So it's going to be a little bit of chop for a little bit. So again, it's not been the most straight up bull market that we've ever seen in Bitcoin and the market here. So it kind of feels like, this is just one step forward, like 2 steps forward at the moment, 1 step back. At least it's going more steps forward than it is back at the moment, which is nice. The DXY, which is the US dollar index, is still looking pretty bearish. We may get a small bounce here. That is going to correlate with Bitcoin sort of maybe 2 steps, 1 step back, 2 steps, 1 step back. So they are sort of, inverse, as I have explained on X in a thread recently. So next one is Ethereum. This is one I'm really excited about because it still looks really nice. It's still holding that 100 MA. It still has support of the 21 EMA and in between the 9 and the 21. So as long as this keeps going sideways, we don't want those two to cross, but as long as this keeps going sideways, we should get a retest of around 0.028, which is a 200 MA. We haven't had one of those for a very, very long time. And as we are holding that 100 MA, that is looking good. This is a daily chart, by the way. Now, also, before I get into this, I'm going to just let you all know. So don't forget, if you want free scalp signals, head to Getting Started in Crypto, click the free signals and use our referral code for Getting Started in Crypto, that one there, HLRVM8, and follow the instructions and you will get free signals. So let's go back into this. So Ethereum has come back down on this channel to touch the median line. Perfect retrace. May come back down for one more touch. That's at about 2463. Might be good to have some orders there. There's still potential. It could come all the way back to 2000. That would see a complete market meltdown. I don't see that happening right just this moment. That's going to be really Trump dependent. Crypto Capo is banking on that. Reason I don't see it is stock is really low. Usually when that's happening, we've still got bullish divergence on the RSI. There's usually a bounce. So whether it just goes down to touch that median line 2451 and then continuation up, it didn't touch the pivot yet on this upper one, which is 3,108. A lot of pivots have been missed. They don't get missed. Algos work within those, so they don't normally get missed. So we'll probably continue to see those movements go up and up and up. So sideways for a bit more until we get those tariffs worked out. But if we go back to BTC, that does bring it back down. If, maybe one more touch of that support, which is about 108. So that's probably, hopefully, worst case scenario. If we're breaking below 107, we're going to start to see, well, maybe this is coming back down to retest the 200 MA. So ideally, we don't want that to happen. We want this to hold and continue up and keep going up to what I showed you on the BLX. So, and to this region here. So that's kind of what we do want at the moment. And let's jump into alts because BTC is really boring. So, and hang on, where's my no audio? So have I got audio back? I've just got a couple of people saying there's no audio. Maybe they've got their phone or their computer switched off. Hopefully you've got audio. It says it's turned on. So I'm going to jump into alts anyway, and maybe I might have to do it all again. But yeah, so first one was BSV. We had quite a few here, and okay, perfect. Prophet can hear me, and Michael can hear me. So yeah, thumbs up. BSV is trading in between the 100 and the 200 on the daily. Hasn't done a retest of this breakout zone. That's around 31. Possible potential that it could come back down to that 31 point if BTC breaks down. If it breaks down. And if this is just, still an ABC, it's probably going to come back down. I don't think it is. This looks quite impulsive, this last wave here. So I would say BTC's still got one more wave to go. Next one was VRA. VRA looks bearish to me. I'm sorry, guys. It looks like it's got an incomplete pattern. So if I'm looking at this, I would say that because it's a wedge and it's normally would have one more wave down for an E. We don't always get that E wave, but if it is to hold, it must hold the region it's in now because that's the pivot. So if it breaks down below where it is now, it's doing an E wave, and that E wave will probably come back down and retest down here lower. So not one that I would be trading at the moment. You want something that's moving and has, really nice liquidity. Cookie is looking nice. So if this is a wave one, it doesn't have a lot of data. So it's very hard to guarantee whether this is a wave one and we're going into an impulse, but it is hitting all the fib levels. So if this is our wave one, that's our 236. We've come up to the 0.5. We want to stay in this region. I'm just going to do some squiggles for you guys. Stay in this region here and then break up and get to the golden zone, which is the 065 to the 618, and then head up to the 786 and hopefully beyond. So that's about 53 for Cookie. Providing it holds these levels, it must hold 21. So if it breaks down lower than 21, that's a bearish pattern. If it holds 21, it's a continuation up pattern. So that's what the pivots basically do. They let us know on an Elliott wave pattern which way the direction is going when there's not a lot of information. So Venry was another one. We've just had a cross on the MACD. We've still got bullish divergence. Now, the pivot on this one is 0.0444. So for all the girls out there, the angels watching, and this is looking good. It's sitting right at the pivot. So as long as it can break that region, this is going to be really, really, really good and start moving. This is a signal in it getting started in crypto as well, as you can see. WIF, which was a signal and just come back down and touched after hitting a 29% profit, I think, last week. It came back down, touched the stop loss, and it's had a bounce. Now, the pivot on this is 1.3. Likely it will test that, could test higher. If it tests the top of the channel, that's a good sign because that means it's continuing to be bullish. It must hold 1.028 or around that kind of region because that's the pivot for the lower waves. And that means if it breaks down below that, it is showing a bearish pattern. At the moment, it's looking really good. All the indicators are showing that this should start moving upwards. The alts are all showing, most of the alts are showing that they've still got a wave left. And that means BTC more than likely has a wave left after this wave here has finished. Now, Bitenza or Teo is showing kind of like an ugly triangle. When we go down to the lower time frames, it does look a lot better. We can see that it's just filling out. So A, B, C, D could go E. And I'll show you what that looks like. So A, B, C, D, E, just filling out that triangle. If it breaks down below sort of about 398, I'd say we're heading down a little bit lower. If it should continue up, the pivot's up around the range where we've got a resistance. So I would say it would come up and touch that resistance and then come down before like that happens. But yeah, so there's a couple of different patterns that could happen here. If it's bearish, we could get 5 waves down, retesting that way, and then doing that. Or if it's bullish, we get the last wave up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll just put that one on there for you so you can have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. So something like that. So that could be the potential pattern that is happening for Teo. So that one looks quite good. SWI, SUI, and again, so 1, 2, I'd say 3 touches when we're going up to the, I'm going to bring it up to a daily, just so we can have a look at that. And we've got support at the moment on the 200 MA, 1, 2, essentially 3 touches. Normally the 4th touch is either a breakout or a breakdown. I would say, being as BTC is getting really close to that 120 sort of, region where it's got a strong resistance from the beginning of time, like right back down to 2017 and beyond. So that resistance is going to cause a lot of havoc in the market. It's probably going to be a really sharp sell-off. So you want to get out before it kind of gets there, or tighten stop losses in those regions, because, there's always the potential, if it gets really bullish, it could break through. So same for SUI, I would say that it's getting to about 4.8, and then it's going to see some resistance in those regions. Now, if it continues to come back down, the pivot on this one is 2.41. So just keep that in mind. XRP hasn't exactly touched this breakout zone yet. So potentially it could come back down to 2.18. Although it's kind of holding within the 100 and the 200 MA. When we take that up, I'm going to take it up to a daily. We're just kind of holding on with that cross, and we don't want that to cross at the moment. So that would be bearish for XRP. If we do get that cross, it'll likely pull back. So we don't want that. So guys, buy XRP. And next one, we've got some meme coins. We've got Pepe. Pepe broke the pivot, which is nice, which means this is probably going to fill out. Now, if it does pull back and we get a pullback across the board, we are looking at lots of zeros, 9.5 for Pepe, and then a continuation up. So if this is an impulse wave, it is going to look something 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, and continuation up. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for within Pepe at the moment, and that could come back down all the way down to that wave 1 high. So wave 1 and 4 should, never cross unless it's a really specific pattern, which this isn't, and that's the lowest. So wave 4 will often come back and touch wave 1. Turbo is kind of ugly. So I don't know who requested this one, but it's kind of ugly. And it's kind of got easing sell pressure, but I'd say maybe it's going to retest that 100 MA, which is about 0.003499. Still has bearish divergence on this one, so I would say that's likely. I'm just going to drop it down to the 100, to the hourly, and just check where they are. So yeah, at the moment, it's got a lot of congestion. These MAs are just twisting around. And we can see we're quite high on the RSI as well, and not a lot of movement for this one. So Turbo's not looking the best, not one I would put a signal up for. You want sort of a clean pattern. This is Velo, which was also requested, which is still in this pattern, still holding the support, and I still think it's got 69%. And another one that I've been watching is TRX, because it has the alt curve that I love to see. So that normally means, like, if that curve holds and continues, that normally heads up, and that would be a nice, like, if it got all the way to the top there, that's a really nice cup. Let me put a handle on it. So that's kind of what we want. I've got two more in there. I've got hang on, audio and Gala. Ooh, this has got lots of stuff on it. Was clearly a signal at some point. All right. Now, in terms of trading, this is showing low liquidity. The reason being, look at these wicks the whole way, and that's not pretty. So once we get into those regions, upper sort of regions, we're sort of seeing those really ugly liquidity wicks. So that's not a good sign on any chart that this has got, high trades happening. The pattern's not looking too bad, but the wicks are showing that, there's not a lot of money there to support if you want to sell anything. So if you're selling here, at, say you sold at 1, you might have only got 85, but yeah, so there's a lot of slippage on this chart. I would say, because it's sort of under and held under this 100 MA, we can see that it's got a lot of wicks. If BTC gets a push down, this is going to have a wick down. So it probably might even come down as low as 57. Ideally, it would like to hold 0.66, and that way it can, the next retest and the next push would be 0.1148. So yeah, it's not one. I don't like charts with those ugly wicks, because it has just, it's so hard to get in and out of these charts, especially if you've got larger balances. And that just shows that, a lot of people, when they've sold, have had a 15% loss on that. So that's not great slippage. Gala. Okay, Gala broke down on a long-term support, which is not great. And I'll take some of this stuff off. And yeah, it's kind of sitting there just on the top. So really it wants to hold that region, and that's also the 100 MA. Now let me just have a look. Hasn't turned up yet, but it looks not so far away and has bullish divergence. So Gala might be just about to make a move. So it has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential. So as long as this region here holds, 17 needs to hold. If that falls out, then the bottom might fall out of Gala, because that's that support region. And the next resistance is at 200 MA on the daily here, which is at 0.27. So yeah, it's in a really critical region. It hasn't got a lot of liquidity coming into it at the moment, but that doesn't mean they could release some news. They could release something and that might save it, but does need to hold that support, because it did break down and it has come back over. So continuously breaking down under a support is not a good sign of strength. So that really does need to hold. Okay, I've got one more. I will do ADS. I don't know if I've ever done that one before. No, haven't done that before. Make a copy. Is this the right one? Create. Thank you, Zeke. So if create can just let me know if this is the correct chart. Alchemy. So it's on OKX. No, on KuCoin, sorry. Yeah, Alchemy. Cool. Okay. Now we've got what is looking like a leading diagonal here. These always come back to the bottom, which it has. So then that forms that expanding wedge, which is a really nice pattern. Now this is the daily. It's currently holding that 100. That's a really good position for this to hold. It can come back down and maybe retest that support, which is about 92. I would say it looks like it's holding. It's really, really, really low on the stock RSI. So that shows me there's a little bit of indecision in this region because it hasn't quite turned up yet. That's why potentially it could have one more retest. But this is expanding wedges are really nice patterns because that just means that it could head up there. Now, zooming out, we're looking probably at about 32, which is the next major pivot. I'm going to take this just up to a weekly just to have a look at something. Okay. So yeah, so that could then be a really ugly cup of some type. And then, yeah, it's not looking like it's the ugliest chart on earth. And the MACD on the weekly is looking really strong. It's got the tiniest little green flip on the island. So that's a nice looking chart. So it needs to break through that weekly resistance, which it's sitting at and has been hitting and just sort of like clearing out. What happens at a resistance? They either have a really sharp breakdown because there's a hell of a lot of shorters in that region, or it'll just sit there and clear out. And you'll know because it'll just kind of trend sideways for a little bit. But this one's not the ugliest looking chart that I've seen out of all of these today. I wouldn't be touching that not so much audio chart because it's quite sort of ugly looking. And the other one that I wouldn't touch was VRA. So if you're out there trading and if you're a long-term hodler and you believe in these, then maybe the team might have some sort of continuation and that might save these patterns. But it does still look quite bearish for those charts, and the wicks are going to kill your trades. So just make sure when you're looking at it, the charts have like full candles or smaller wicks because you don't want to lose all of your money when you're selling out. And sometimes you have to market sell those lower sort of alts just to get out of those regions, and the slippage on those was huge. So just be aware of that. If you're trading, and especially if you're in leverage, you want stuff that's got liquidity. So make sure it's not showing, wicks even on the lower time frames, not gappy, not wicks, not anything. So, if we were to go back to audio and we go back down to a lower time frame, it's not actually the ugliest chart on the lower time frames. It actually looks quite good. So it's just when they have those, oh no, actually it's still got wicks on the time frames here. It's got a few wicks here. Yeah, it's like if you're selling the top in that region and you got in late, well, it's not too bad. It's only a 3% move. So when we're looking at it on the lower time frames, it's not the ugliest chart. When we're going higher, these wicks are getting longer and longer. So that's 6%. And, some of these ones were 15. So, yeah, you just want to be aware of the wicks. you couldn't see any of those charts because I didn't put it up, but I should have had that up. Hang on, let me just put that back so you can see where it is. Hang on. So yeah, so if we're looking at, this is audio, and we're looking at these wicks, we are kind of getting, you know, bigger. As we go up the time frames, it's getting, you know, less liquidity. Lower time frames, if you're scalping it, it doesn't look too bad actually. So 10 minutes not showing like major sort of wicks, maybe on these total highs, but yeah. So it's not the ugliest chart, but there are better out there. So just when you're looking at charts, do be aware and look for liquidity, look for all of that stuff. I've got a YouTube video that I am going to put up in the next, hopefully, week, just on what to look for when you are going into a trade. So that is going to be sponsored by Femex. So thank you to them, and it will be going up very soon. So yeah, thank you all for joining me. And as always, you'll find me on Instagram, on X, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and of course inside Getting Started in Crypto. So I will catch you very soon on all of those platforms, and again here next Monday. Thanks for watching, guys.